Hello everyone, hope you are doing great. Today we speak about the environmental crisis. Did you know that at least 8 million tons of plastic end up in our oceans every year? Shocking, right? Let's see what are other facts we want to know about and how Mr. Beast and Mark Robert decided to change the world literally. More than 1 million seabirds and 100,000 marine animals die from plastic pollution every year. 100% of baby sea turtles have plastic in their stomachs. There are now 5.25 trillion macro and micro pieces of plastic in our ocean and 46,000 pieces in every square mile of ocean, weighing up to 269,000 tons. Every day around 8 million pieces of plastic makes their way into our oceans. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is around 1.6 million square kilometers, bigger than Texas. The world produces 381 million tons of plastic waste yearly. This is set to double by 2034. 50% of this is single-use plastic and only 9% has ever been recycled. Over 2 million tons of plastic packaging are used in the UK each year. 88% of the sea's surface is polluted by plastic waste. Between 8 to 14 million tons enter our ocean every year. Britain contributes an estimated 1.7 million tons of plastic annually. The US contributes 38 million tons of plastic every year. Plastic packaging is the biggest culprit, resulting in 80 million tons of waste yearly from the US alone. On UK beaches there are 5,000 pieces of plastic and 150 plastic bottles for each mile. More than 1 million plastic bags end up in the trash every minute. The world uses over 500 billion plastic bags a year, that's 150 for each person on Earth. 8.3 billion plastic straws pollute the world's beaches, but only 1% of straws end up as waste in the ocean. By 2020 the number of plastics in the sea will be higher than the number of fish. 1 in 3 fish caught for human consumption contains plastic. Plastic microbeads are estimated to be 1 million times more toxic than the seawater around them. Products containing microbeads can release 100,000 tiny beads with just one squeeze. How much plastic is in the ocean? 8 million pieces of plastic pollution find their way into our ocean daily. 79% of plastic waste is sent to landfills or the ocean, while only 9% is recycled, and 12% gets incinerated. 25 trillion macros and 51 trillion microplastics litter our oceans. Of that, 269,000 tons float on the surface. This is the equivalent of 1,345 blue whales and 500 times the number of stars in our galaxy. 4 billion plastic microfibers per square kilometer clutter the sea. Between 4.8 and 12.7 million tons of plastic pieces are dumped into our oceans yearly. One garbage truck of plastic is discarded into our oceans every minute. Approximately 5,000 items of marine plastic pollution have been found per mile of beach in the UK. 165 million tons of plastic currently circulates in Earth's marine environments. Only 1% of marine litter floats, everything else sinks to the seafloor. Plastic has been found as far as 11 kilometers deep, contaminating the most remote places on Earth. Plastic in the sea is predicted to increase tenfold by 2020. How big is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch? The patch is 617,763 square miles, or 1.6 million square kilometers. It's bigger than Texas and around 3 times the size of France. It contains 8 trillion bits of plastic, weighing more than 80,000 tons. 46% of the rubbish in the garbage patch is made up of fishing nets. The patch is floating between Hawaii and California. This trash vortex is a collection of 2 distinct patches connected by the North Pacific subtropical gyre. There are 5 major ocean gyres that accumulate millions of pieces of plastic. Our wildlife feed in these grounds. How many fish and marine life die from plastic pollution in the ocean? Marine plastic pollution has affected 100% of marine turtles, 59% of whales, 36% of seals, and 40% of seabirds of those examined. Over 1 million seabirds and 100,000 marine mammals are killed by ocean plastic every year. 700 species of marine animals are in danger of extinction due to plastic. The population of tuna has declined by 74% since 1970, and 1 in 4 shark species is threatened with extinction. 1 in 3 marine animals has been found tangled in plastic. Over 90% of all seabirds have plastic in their stomachs. Sea turtles. Bycaught in fisheries operating within and around the patch can have up to 74%, by dry weight, of their diets composed of ocean plastics. 705,000 tons of discarded fishing nets drown mammals including seals. This is known as ghost fishing. More than 2/3 of the world's fish stocks are suffering from plastic ingestion. If coral encounters plastic, the likelihood of it becoming diseased increases from 4% to 89%, a disastrous effect as coral is home to more than 25% of marine life. What causes ocean plastic pollution? Plastics consistently make up 60 to 90% of all marine debris studied. 20% of all plastic waste in the sea comes from marine sources such as nets, ropes, and lines. 32% of plastic waste found was cigarette filters, 9% was food packaging, 8% bottle caps, and 6% tableware. 60% of the materials that form clothing are forms of plastic, nylon, acrylic, polyester, etc. Your typical clothes wash will produce around 700,000 microplastic fibers. 138 billion plastic stirrers are tossed out in America on an annual basis. The US discards 2 billion razors and 1 billion plastic toothbrushes a year. In the UK we use around 8 billion cotton buds, which were in the top 10 items found during the Marine Conservation Society's Great British Beach Clean. How many plastic bags are in the ocean? More than 1 million plastic bags end up in the trash every minute. 100,000 marine animals are killed by plastic bags. Up to 1 trillion plastic bags are used worldwide each year, that's 160,000 a second. If you linked them end to end, they would circle the globe 4,200 times. Around 10% of those will end up in our oceans. Less than 1 in 7 plastic bags are recycled. The US is responsible for around 327 billion bags that end up in the seas. A plastic bag is used on average for 15 minutes. It can take anything between 20 to 1,000 years for a plastic bag to break up. How many plastic straws are in the ocean? 50 million straws are used in the US per day. At least 4.4 billion straws are thrown away every year in the UK. Scientists estimate 7.5 million straws pollute US coastlines and between 437 million to 8.3 billion plastic straws on coastlines around the world. Plastic straws only make up about 1% of the plastic waste in the sea. How many plastic bottles are in the ocean? 500 billion plastic bottles are used every year, meaning there are 66 times as many bottles as there are humans on the planet. Recent estimates suggest there are 150 plastic bottles every mile of the UK coastline. Americans use an estimated 50 billion plastic water bottles a year. A plastic bottle can last for 450 years in the marine environment. More than 480 billion plastic bottles were sold in 2016 across the world, up from around 300 billion a decade ago. 14% of all litter is from drinks containers. Less than half of the bottles bought in 2016 were recycled. 7% of the ones collected were used to create new bottles. How does plastic get into the ocean? The biggest polluting country in the world is China. The top 10 worst offenders include Indonesia, the Philippines, Vietnam, Sri Lanka and Egypt. The top 5 countries contribute to 60% of all ocean plastic pollution. The US was ranked in the top 20. 18 billion pounds of plastic pollution flows into the sea from coastal regions yearly. Only 10 river systems contribute to 90% of the plastic that flows into the sea. 8 of these rivers are in Asia: the Yangtze, Yellow, Indus, Hai, Ganges, Mekong, Amur, and Pearl. The Nile and the Niger in Africa are the other 2. 2/3 of plastic pollution comes from litter being washed down rivers and drains, left on beaches, or being dropped in towns or cities. Industry spills, waste being flushed down toilets and badly managed landfill sites near the coast contribute to the problem. How does plastic affect the environment? We have produced over 320 million tons of plastic. This is set to double by 2034. Excessive marine pollution has helped create 500 dead zones, the size of the United Kingdom's surface, 245,000 square kilometers. In the ocean, this number will double every decade. The lack of oxygen in dead zones causes marine life to migrate to new areas, disrupting the balance of marine life in other parts. 70% of Earth's oxygen is produced by marine plants. 30% of our CO2 emissions are absorbed by the oceans. How does plastic ocean pollution affect humans? 1 in 3 fish for human consumption contains plastic. It's estimated seafood lovers eat 11,000 pieces of toxic plastic every year. Microplastic can be found in tap water, beer, and salt. Numerous chemicals used to produce plastic are known to be carcinogenic and to interfere with the body's hormone system, causing reproductive, neurological, and immune disorders in both humans and wildlife. 95% of US adults have levels of BPA in their urine. After the phenomenal success of #TeamTrees, Mr.Beast and Mark Rober are back with #TeamSeas and have a new goal of raising $30 million to remove 30 million pounds of trash from our seas. They decided to develop more content and posts to rally your community throughout the campaign, which officially ends on January 1, 2022, at midnight PT. So please visit teamseas.org to donate, and if you have any more questions, 100% of the money we raise goes directly to our non-profit partners Ocean Conservancy and the Ocean Cleanup. So it is time to clean up.